Good evening, everyone. So it is Thursday, December 4th, a little after 9 p.m. It is so nice to see you all. For those I haven't had the opportunity to meet, hi. My name is Kevin McAvey. I'm a husband, a father of three, a Bedford resident, a lifelong Democrat, a healthcare policy expert across this country, and a good government advocate. And it is my pleasure to once again be here to talk to you about the state of the race in New York Congressional District 17, which will be one of the most closely watched and likely one of the most competitive races across the country. And I am extraordinarily excited to welcome a special guest today who I'll introduce in just one moment. But just to remind those who are tuning in for the first time and those who haven't tuned in for a couple of weeks, the purpose of these live streams is to engage New Yorkers living in northern Westchester, Putnam County, Rockland County, and southern Dutchess County in the political process, really equipping our community with information about the issues impacting our families and households and businesses to help us identify the best person to represent our interests in 2026. We're doing this through 3 activities. 1, discussing the issues, creating a forum to discuss issues confronting residents of New York 17, supporting an informed and engaged constituency. We're fostering community, reconnecting as a community around common issues of concern, and ensuring our representatives are accountable for addressing our issues. And then finally, introducing our candidates, introducing our residents to individuals seeking to represent us in the next Congress. We've heard from virtually every Democratic candidate who has decided to put part of their lives on hold to spend hours going across the district, meeting new people, hearing from residents, and putting forward their vision for how they would best represent us in Congress. Regardless of who you ultimately choose to support, I hope we can all applaud the dedication, effort, and sacrifice these individuals are making in order to run for office. For those who haven't yet tuned in, on YouTube, we have a series of videos and personal interviews with each of the candidates. 3 series, in fact, for many of the candidates. We did 2 virtual series where we had interviews. The first was a broad general introductory interview with each of the then 7 Democratic candidates. The second was an issue-focused interview. And then the third, for 4 of our candidates, were in the field interviews, where their campaigns actually set up and recorded in-person interviews at various places across the district. Up on YouTube right now, there's an interview with Kate Conley. We met over in Ossining, Yorktown area. Peter Chatsky, we met in his hometown of Briarcliff Manor. Effie Phillips Staley, we met in Ossining, and Beth Davidson, we met in good old Rockland County, and that video will be coming soon. So please stay tuned. I don't know when it's going to come. It's gonna come when it comes. So just keep posted on social media. And today I am so thrilled to be bringing on my friend Michael LaRosa, who served as Special Assistant to President Joseph Biden and Press Secretary and Chief Spokesperson for our First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden. Michael is currently a partner at Ballard Partners, a leading bipartisan government affairs firm in Washington, D.C., and he's regularly featured political analyst on all major news channels. It's a rare day that I don't see a clip of Michael and his really sharp analyses on the state of political affairs, on key critical policy issues confronting us all on the news and really guiding us forward. And I expect no less candor and honesty tonight as he provides probably what is going to be the deepest and first wide-spanning assessment of the race, what we should really be thinking about in New York 17. I do want to mention before serving his latest roles, he was Dr. Biden's chief spokesperson for the inauguration. He was on the Biden-Harris transition team. He was led communications on Capitol Hill for the U.S. Senate Committee on Energy and Natural Resources for the ranking member, and House Democratic Party Communications Committee. He also spent 7 years as a television producer for one of the original and longest-running political talk shows on cable news, MSNBC, Hardball with Chris Matthews. With that, I'd love to welcome up my friend, Michael LaRosa. Michael, how are you? How am I doing? You should be telling me how I'm doing at this.
You're doing great. I mean, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. That was a really kind introduction, and excited to be here and talk about one of the things I love the most, which is congressional races and midterm elections. So,
Yeah, and before we get into this, like one of the common refrains on this live stream and in so many of the talks that I've been given across the district is the importance of knowing your messenger and knowing who's kind of delivering information, where they come from. And you've had a tremendous career already, and with
mm,
politics, federal politics, seeing federal politics at all angles. Could you share just a little bit about your journey and how even particularly serving in the media and interacting with, I guess, hundreds of candidates and actual electeds over the years has really shaped your perspective on the political process?
yeah, absolutely. And I was fortunate to sort of not, I don't want to say volley back and forth, but as a young person in DC, I got my first job on Capitol Hill working for a Blue Dog member of Congress, a Democrat in a majority Republican district, as a junior staffer in the sort of at the wave of the 2006 election, which brought in Nancy Pelosi for the first time as Speaker of the House. But that job was so uh, it was such an education. I sometimes say it was like I was doing it while I was going to grad school at night, but I
Mm-hmm.
often say that that was a master's degree in like politics in and of itself, because very much like your district, it's a member of Congress in a very competitive district, who has to work across the aisle, who has to take tough votes, who has to raise a lot of money in a very, very expensive national market, um, and has to work across the aisle. But also, there's an intersection between sort of money, policy, politics, um, government. It was an incredible experience to see how a congressional office with a member on a with a member in a very vulnerable district, a top target for the Republicans, to see absorb and understand how politics works in the real world. And
Mm-hmm.
it was a real life education. But anyway, that was my first job. Somehow I ended up in TV as a TV producer for Chris Matthews.
Mm-hmm.
We're both political junkies. We sort
Yeah.
of
Talk about a
did.
master's the front row seat and
Yeah, and it was
mhm,
great. I got to I think my formative years in Washington were spent there learning the craft of making news, making television, but also observing and kind of learning how politicians or elected officials and candidates behave, how they make news, what we in the media at that time react to when it comes to
mhm,
candidates, what we consider, newsworthy or important for an hour tonight. All those things, was really helpful in forming my sort of worldview, especially when it came to like public relations and political communication, and how I thought um, members of Congress or candidates should be communicating effectively
mhm.
in order to um, create an impression. You know, you create an impression in a very short amount of time, and it's hard to
Mhm.
take that impression away.
Yeah,
Um, people
wise
consume
words for many of the candidates right now.
Yeah, people
Mhm.
consume information. That early information is super important, and it's hard to sort of persuade or evolve after that, but it does happen.
Mhm.
It happens though the more a candidate is creating more information, and the only way to create more information to affect the impression and opinion of the voter is by doing things like this. is by communicating with the public through these mass media forms, because 99% of the candidates will never will never meet the voter will never meet
the
their
person.
candidate usually, so it's through a screen that voters sort of get to know their candidates. And so that's why doing more, engaging more with the media, and creating a positive impression is so important. And that's why I went to Capitol Hill to help a senator, and then help freshman members of the Democrats. And then I got sucked into the presidential campaign of 2019 early with Joe Biden, and traveling with his wife as her spokesperson on the road. And we traveled quite a bit, all the time, and stayed with her for the first 2 years of the White House, and traveled the world with her. And it was the best experience of my life. I got to be a part of a presidential campaign from soup to nuts, to do all those early states like Iowa, New Hampshire, traveled the country. We obviously, if those who remember correctly, we took a lot of, we took some lumps early on, and had some big, disappointing defeats.
Yeah.
And then to be a part of sort of that traveling bubble on the road, with the candidate and the spouse, and sort of feeling that whiplash after you win, and feeling the
South Carolina, right?
Yeah, after South Carolina, and then this really intense 2-week sprint to Super Tuesday, and then another kind of like a mini Super Tuesday, and then there was then a physical whiplash of COVID, of course.
Yeah.
Eventually we got back out on the road, and then to win. So it was an incredible education, front row seat to history, which continued for 2 years. And then I was ready to go to the private sector, and do something different.
Yeah. And that's a tremendous journey. I mean, you've grown up with politics, seeing it all, not only at all levels, but from multiple perspectives, and which kind of like makes me so excited about this conversation, where I'd really love to hear your thoughts on the national state of play. We're now past the 2025 elections, and so all eyes are turning to November 2026. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts about what is at stake, how close is it likely going to be in 2026? Like, how critical is this seat? What does the actual position mean? And then maybe even getting into kind of the competitiveness of both going up against a well-funded candidate, Mr. Lawler, and even the state of the field. But to start out, what's at stake in November 2026?
Well, it depends what party you're in, right?
Yeah.
There are different stakes to different voters, and stakes mean something different to Democrats as they might for Republicans. Midterm elections are often, they can be seen a variety of ways. I won't say there's just one way. Sometimes they are just yes or no. I like the way things are going, or no, I want to change. But they can often be sort of a reflection or a referendum on the national mood. If you go back 20 years ago to 2005, Democrats were in the exact same position that they are in today. They were in the minority in the House, in the Senate, with not really much of a chance to take back the Senate. And the White House was governed by Republicans after a very decisive popular vote victory in 2004. And I think people tend to forget that, there isn't, in that kind of situation, there isn't one national leader. The minority party just doesn't have a bully pulpit the way the majority or the president does. And the current president, the current incumbent, they're the leader of the party. They have the biggest megaphone in the world. And we happen to have a president who takes advantage of that bullhorn more than any of his predecessors have ever done. And he's incredibly savvy and instinctive and intentional about communicating with the public, about what he says and how he says it and to whom he says it. And, that's a skill, right? It doesn't make him a great president, but it does make him a pretty good communicator.
Yeah. And he comes across as genuine too, which I also hear people really hungering for right now in their political leaders. Do you think that that's fair?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think I think it's incredibly fair. And I will say, as a Democrat, though, there are a lot of lessons we can take away from Trump, and one of those is the remarkably accessible presidency he has created. Transparency is different than accessibility. We'll know whether he's transparent at some point down the road. But what we do know for sure is that he's incredibly accessible. He invites the press into the presidency in ways that were allergic to the Biden culture, which was to keep the press at a distance intentionally, to avoid unscripted, unrehearsed, impromptu moments.
Yeah.
In any inorganic moment was punishable. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
It did not go rewarded, because the Bidens were incredibly scripted. Every movement was planned and choreographed. And so there was no room for organic moments, and that means there's no room for authenticity. And unfortunately, that was Joe Biden's greatest gift.
Yeah.
And it was kind of taken away from him, that he wasn't permitted to emote or react in authentic, organic ways, because he was essentially bubble wrapped. And it's not just it wasn't just the end of his presidency. It was from the moment I got to the campaign. And I'm not saying that in a resentful way. I mean, that was their decision. Those were their strategies. Those were their choices. But I got to observe it and see how it did. And obviously, it wouldn't have been my styles or my approach. And I don't think it worked. But, they had to learn that sort of the hard way in the end. Right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So, and so you have to give this president credit for taking questions in the Oval Office every single day, taking questions on Air Force One. I don't think Joe Biden ever took questions on Air Force One. I know he didn't. I think he did one off the record. But he never took a question on Air Force One, rarely held press avails in the Oval. And he was only in the press room, I think, once, and it was like a couple months before he left. So there's quite a contrast you can see in what works in modern day communication, communicating with your voters, your supporters. A striking contrast between this administration and the previous administration, and that goes to the cabinet too.
Yeah, and so what's at stake in this election depends upon which party you're looking at. But would you agree that NY-17, regardless of which party you are, is likely going to be critical in the control of Congress next year?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be one of the most watched races in the country. It's going to be one of, if not the most expensive race in the country. And that has pros and cons for both sides. This, going back real quick, just going back to one of the things I didn't say was what's at stake will be whether you are a Democrat or Republican, the acknowledgement and the acceptance that when you change the balance of power, when there is an opposition party for president, legislating and productivity, such as it is, comes to a screeching halt. So if you don't think anything's getting done now, just wait. if party changes power, nothing will happen.
Yeah.
Because the Democrats will probably, because here's the hard reality.
Mm-hmm.
In the minority, you can't pass. Yeah, the president won't sign the bills you pass.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the Senate won't pass it either.
Mm-hmm.
So if we just take back the House, we can pass all the bills we want, and they'll go right to the graveyard, like in 2019 and 2020. And a lot of the media time and a lot of the energy and resources will be spent on conducting oversight of the executive branch and the federal agencies. So that's what's at stake. You either want that or you don't. And I'm here to tell you that's what's going to happen. Whether it's good or bad, I'll let everybody else decide. It's up to everybody else. But no, your district is considered ground zero. Because you do have a Republican incumbent in a Democrat +2, I think, Dem +2 or +3 district. So that makes him, regardless of who he is, the fact that he has an R next to his name makes him a top target and a race that will determine be a determining result in whether Democrats take back the House or whether Republicans keep the House. But again, there's some other ways to look at it, and we can talk more about that too.
Yeah. So before we talk about the seat itself, this is a job that often gets lost in the spectacle of elections, but it is a job where you are elected to serve 775,000 people of all parties, all occupations, background, life circumstances. Can you talk and just ground us a little bit in what a congressperson does and is expected to do on a daily basis, just to kind of keep it in the back of everyone's mind? We're hiring someone to do a job.
Right. So there's two schools of thought, to go deep into the political science world. There's one model of sort of how to approach the job as a member of Congress, which is to, the voters sent you there. They trust you. They voted for you because they trust your judgment and your experience and your instincts. And, it's up to the member to make the tough calls and then go back and teach their district or explain to their district why they did what they did. And then there's another version, which is much more sort of steward of the people and constituent service based, but also sort of tailoring every decision, not so much to the gut and judgment of the member, but more as a taking instruction from more of a focus group kind of member. What is the best for this district? Like, what do I believe versus what is best for the district? And that is often the case with members of Congress like yours, who's in a marginal competitive district. So that's sort of where it goes. But that's the job, is sort of serving your constituents. But when you go to Congress, the hard reality is that you are a member of a team, and it's team red or team blue at the end of the day, because we have a two-party system. And there are very, very few members of Congress who are willing to take off the team jersey and vote with the other side. Your member of Congress, Congressman Lawler, happens to be one of the few who I would say has been incredibly gutsy and extremely, how do I want to say it?
I don't know, but I could already hear the screams through the interwebs.
Yeah, I mean, look,
But
look,
this is the
look.
honest, candid
I
truth
have,
and perspective.
I have to tell you,
Mhm.
he's.
Yeah.
If you ask Republicans and Democrats,
Hmm.
if the conservative members are not with him on something,
Hmm.
he's the kind of member that you can go out and have a beer with after a tough vote.
Hmm.
Democrats respect him. Republicans, both ideologies, respect him a lot. He does everything right when it comes to being on the right side of the issues for his district. Like you saw today on the Obamacare subsidies, he's part
I
of a
did see
bipartisan.
he's now part of a bipartisan coalition. But like can I push back a little bit? The One
Sure.
Big Beautiful Bill Act, there was a lot of local opposition to his vote on that act for fear of what it would do to New York and our district. And he ultimately decided to vote for it, even though he sent that letter to Speaker Johnson asking for a revision, which he didn't get.
But he is considered one of the heroes of that bill, and this will go to one of his strengths is that he was willing to buck his party and was sort of the loudest and the biggest proponent um, of lifting the salt uh, the cap on the salt tax.
For 5 years, Michael. For 5 years, right?
Yeah, but he's going to be able to run. Because he's
Yeah,
going to
he
have a
already
lot
has
of money.
branding. Hmm.
He's going to have a lot of money to say, this is how much money you're going to save as a result of what I alone did. I mean, because it's very rare. First of
Hmm.
all, he was fighting an uphill battle. Like most Republicans think it's the blue tax,
Hmm.
and here you have a Republican in a majority Democratic district pushing through, on the verge of tanking his entire party and his president's
Hmm.
biggest piece of legislation, most consequential piece of legislation. And because your district is a very wealthy,
Hmm.
very high tax district, um, he was willing to put his own sort of reputation in his party on the line to do what
Hmm.
was best for his district. And he's going to be telling that story and making that case. And I got to tell you, it's pretty compelling because the
Hmm.
fact that he got it, even though it's temporary, most tax bills are temporary.
Hmm.
And he got what Democrats have been fighting for a really long time. So if you're a Democrat or an independent in your district, you
So
got to
you're
be.
telling me, yeah, you're telling
I
me
mean,
this is going to
look,
be a tough race.
oh my God, we haven't even gotten there yet. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And what he did in terms of the politics and having the guts and the fortitude actually to stand up to his party, but willing to um, tank it all uh, to stand up for his constituents to make sure that they got a better deal
Yeah.
than more than most people in the country. Well, at least you know
Yeah.
majority of Republican areas in the country. It's an incredible. It's just a big thing. He
Yeah.
has quite an arsenal of good stories to share with his constituents, and that is a big one. And
Yes.
I
And
assume he
I
will.
think he's trying to build another one starting today with his bipartisan collaboration on healthcare.
Yeah,
And
although I mean, I don't know. Like, look, I don't know. I'd have to go look at like
mhm,
the sort of demographic. I know you have a very expensive district. I know
mhm,
it's a very high income earning district. I don't know what percentage of
mhm,
those on the Obamacare exchanges are in your
mhm,
district.
mhm,
I have a feeling it's probably well below national average. So,
mhm.
I, is healthcare gonna? Is he gonna? Is he for this extending the subsidies? I'm sure he is, and
Mhm.
he is. But I don't know even if look the subsidies are probably not going to be extended. So
Yeah.
I don't know how deep it's going to affect a district like yours
Mhm.
anyway. So I don't know if healthcare is going to be a really penetrating issue, but
Yeah.
in your district specifically. But who knows? We'll see.
So let's talk about the race. So I think, like to your point, I think he is going to, like Congressman Lawler is going to pull out and I would guess like really profile himself as a moderate Republican who looks for compromises. And you're saying that you've seen that in practice. He's also going to have.
That's, look, I'm a Democrat.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
a friendly space.
Sean Maloney, who he defeated, is,
Yeah.
gave me my first job as a
Yeah.
longtime friend and mentor of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I was devastated when Sean lost,
Mm-hmm.
but Lawler, look, let's
have a lot of money.
Let's set the table up.
Yeah.
He did something pretty historic in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
He defeated not only a member of leadership, but the campaign committee chair.
Mm-hmm.
It hadn't been done in 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he did it with about $1.5 million versus $7 million.
Mm-hmm.
And then, a flood of outside money. But he is an incredible political athlete. Mm-hmm. He is someone that from the moment he was elected in 2022 was doing CNN and MSNBC and Fox. He goes to the left.
Very well spoken. He's composed.
Well, it's not that he's well spoken, but he is. He is. But it's more that he was smart and instinctive enough to realize the kind of position he's in and who he represents, and was going where they were. Mm-hmm. He goes on MSNBC. He goes on CNN. He goes on Fox. He goes on Right podcast. He goes on. Mm-hmm. He's not scared to go anywhere. Very, very similar to how Trump approaches communicating with voters. And I thought that was the most impressive thing. A lot of people in a position like him, Kevin, would actually pull back and mm-hmm. stay away from mm-hmm. any kind of conflict, any kind of media that could pit, a conservative versus a moderate or a Republican. Usually members in districts like his don't want anything to do with cable news. He was smart. His team was smart from the very beginning to put him everywhere, to put him out, to run into the fire, mm-hmm. not away from it. And it probably helped him raise a lot of money too and define himself. It was an incredibly, savvy communication strategy that they've had from the moment that he got there. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Instinctually, tactically, politically, he is a member that does everything right. And he is a fundraising machine. Mm-hmm. He is going to have...
I'm expecting significant numbers at the end of this quarter.
I mean, yeah, I think he has 2.8 million on hand mm-hmm. as of September 30th. I think the next person who comes close to that is on the Democratic side has about 800,000 on hand, right, or 900,000 on hand right now. But then there's going to be a flood of outside money. So mm-hmm. this is going to be a very expensive race. I think I was told that mm-hmm. combined, it was a $40 million race in 2024, and he won by 5 points. Mm-hmm. He outran Trump.
Yep.
He got 25,000 more voters than he did 2 years earlier, when there were probably, probably more Republicans. There's a drop-off rate, but he managed to get a lot more voters, 25,000 more voters in the last election. So he's going to be extremely tough to beat. And Democrats at the national level will have to actually make a decision. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be worth it to spend the kind of money to beat
that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. a white whale? Mm-hmm. Democrats, we always had our white whales. For a long mm-hmm. time, it was Jim Greenwood in Pennsylvania, or a guy in Connecticut. I forget, Chris Shays in Connecticut, or there were a couple that we always went after. Charlie Dent in Pennsylvania, who we would always go after every 2 years.
Yeah.
Henry Cuellar was that for Republicans. Can never knock them off. These are conservative Democrats or moderate Democrats who do everything right, like or Republicans. But then sometimes there's what you call like a wave in politics that you can do everything right. You can make every smart decision on votes, you can be out fundraising 10-1 your opponent. You can do everything right, and the wave is just something that defies sort of the art of politics, right? So you go under, and there's nothing you can do about it. But you did everything right. So we don't know if that's the environment we're in.
Yeah. So on that note, I have two quick questions. Like one, like you've talked about and like outlined some significant strengths that Congressman Lawler has going into next year and going into this election, a strategic decision that the party is going to make when it comes to funding this race or
and I want to be clear so I don't get hate mail from Democrats. This is going to be an expensive race regardless. Like Democrats, there's going to be money spent here, and there's going to be a lot of outside money. But look, the leader of the party is from New York. He has to go after Lawler. He has to go after your seat. So it's just a matter of fact. However, they're going to have to make money decisions. On TV reservations and resources, and do they have a better chance of flipping 3 or 4 seats in the Midwest, in Michigan, in Wisconsin, in Iowa, in cheaper areas of the country where the money goes a much longer way?
I've seen some positive polling out of a couple of a district in Iowa, surprisingly. But so money, it's going to be an expensive race. Before we talk about, and I think a lot of folks are interested in your take on the field, the Democratic primary field as it is, how important is money and the ability to raise money at this point in the race for the Democratic nomination?
How important?
How important is it?
It's the only thing that's important.
No, it's just that simple.
There's the only thing that matters that gives that will give any candidate any credibility is money.
But what if you're charismatic, Michael?
You can be charismatic but not have the resources to show off your charisma. That means you have to try to get free attention, and that's really hard. And you have to have a compelling reason for mass audiences to sort of for producers and reporters to write about you. To get that attention, you have to be doing or saying something extremely compelling for free. Now that does happen. It can certainly happen. But money is everything, and you need to be essentially living in your house as a candidate for the first, probably 3/4, maybe the first year, doing call time 8 hours a day. That is a sad state of affairs. And by the way, if a Democrat does win, that's what they will be doing the moment that they get sworn in. They will spend very little time in their office because they will be spending most moments over at the DCCC in little boxes, little booths, little phone booths, where they will be calling every day because they will have to raise at least $500,000 a quarter to keep their job. Lawler is basically raising $900,000 a quarter, and none of these, except for what I can see, Kate Conley.
So let's talk about the candidates and the race. And
so first of all, you can tell a lot about some of these campaigns and how long they're going to last based on their money situation right now.
Yep.
And I have it. Sorry, I just wanted to find it so I not.
And for those tuning in, like you've reviewed public filings, information from campaigns, had conversations.
Oh yeah.
We've talked a little bit.
And I'll say this. So it's a pretty substantial field.
Mm-hmm.
There are what,
We have 7 right now.
7?
Mm-hmm.
I have 8.
Well, we have Jessica
But I'm bad at math.
recently. Yeah. So these are the folks right now that I'm tracking. We
Okay.
have
So Jessica
Jessica
Ryman dropped.
Reinman dropped out a couple weeks ago and endorsed Kate Conley.
Okay. Um, so we set the table, right, with
Mm-hmm.
your district and how expensive it is. Let's see. So in 2022, Lawler raised 1.5, Maloney 6 million. Lawler won it by 1,800 votes. Mondaire Jones raised about 10 million. Lawler raised 8.3. Lawler won by 6 points. And then there's, like I said, there was about 30 million outside dark money that came in. I'm of the mind that Citizens United really helped Democrats. Democrats usually raise more dark money and spend more dark money than Republicans. So I think Citizens United actually helped us. Though at the time everybody was very angry. So look,
I'm still angry.
There's only there are about 2 or 3, from what I can tell, Kevin, who may be able to compete with that.
Things are going to get real starting in January. We're in a new year. Like people are going to people are starting to tune in, and like you've said, money is a critical indicator.
Critical, the only thing. I mean, your primaries in June. Most of these folks don't have a ton of name ID, from what I can tell. So most of them are not elected officials with their own bases of support already, right? So the first person who can get on TV will probably win. This is a midterm race, so your district, I think, skews a little bit older, right? Do you have college campuses there?
Like smaller ones.
So TV will probably be more important, or similar. It will still be important in your race, whereas in presidentials, digital is a little bit more of the focus. But midterms are tend to be skew older voters, so TV is still gold in that sense.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna have to put. It's not just about getting on TV first, but it's going to be about how long can they stay on TV once they get on. And so your primary is in June. And so it's, to run one 15-second commercial, it's probably $10,000 a week. You have to do the math.
Yeah.
And, that's why money is everything, because money will also mean people will come and endorse you because it means you have credibility. And it will also mean that the DCCC is going to be looking at how fast and how much each candidate is raising. And they're going to make, I don't want to say, I have no idea whether they're going to get involved. I doubt they're going to get involved. But
and just to explain that to kind of our the broader audience, like why might the DCCC not want to get involved in this race this year?
Well, usually depending on the field and depending on the district, they don't usually get involved. But this is a big field.
Yeah,
it's a very sophisticated field. And that's probably why they won't get involved. Plus, it's not very popular these days to sort of put your thumb on the scale.
Yeah. And some would say that there was concern a couple weeks back. They invited Kate and Beth down to DC for the a conference confab, and they thought that was an indicator that the DCCC was kind of blessing them as the front runners.
Yeah, well, I'll say this, and a couple things about these Democrats. So Kate Conley and I actually served in the Biden White House together. We didn't work together. We actually did turn out we were on Manifest. We were actually on a lot of trips together, but we never met. She was at the NSC, and I did meet her actually a couple months ago at. I'm a donor to the Quality PAC, and it was a PAC weekend. And as any candidate should be who's seeking the endorsement and resources of a PAC, she was there getting to know other Democratic members of Congress and other contributors. And I was with a member of Congress the other night, and I knew I was going to be doing the podcast, so I wanted to ask what they thought.
Yeah.
And she's incredibly popular with the members and the recruitment, and I'll say this, and again, I don't have much of a history with Kate, and I don't know her that well, but two things. One, her ad is probably the best ad I've seen from a production standpoint and from a just sheer motivational standpoint since the Jason Kander ad of 2016. It is. But the ad that is at the top of her profile is, and people were looking at this thing that whole weekend in Palm Springs. It is not, it's again, as a former TV producer, it's so compelling. It's so gutsy. She takes some production risk, some, just visual risk and some script risk. And it was just an incredibly well done ad. And she's raising the money herself, and she raised 1.3 and has 900 on hand, 900,000. That's very good. That means she has a smart campaign manager, and they are not spending money early. They are saving for that TV. They're being incredibly tactical. And one more thing about Kate is that she is the profile of a candidate out of central casting in Rahm Emanuel's DCCC in 2006. Rahm, of course, brought the majority back to Democrats in 2006 by going into areas and picking candidates to recruit them and resource them and fund them if they could match their districts. And we didn't play in your district before, at least half of it. But it was a very big deal when Rahm put a lot of money from the DCCC into Kirsten Gillibrand, because it was a seat that she was nobody thought she could win, Republican forever. Rahm really changed the way Democrats recruit. He recruited a lot of veterans that year, tons. But Iraq war was very unpopular. It was becoming an Achilles heel for the Republican Party, and so there were like 4 members of Congress from Pennsylvania that year who were Iraq war vets. And
you're seeing echoes of that here.
Yeah, there were a couple upstate. There was a bunch in 2006. But she's that national security moderate, sort of pragmatic Democrat that is out of the Rahm Emanuel winning playbook. Now, that said, let's look at some of her candidates or her opponents. Davidson raised 1.2 million, which is good, almost as much as Kate. But like I said, Kate only spent $300,000 so far, and she's been in since April, and she has 900,000 on hand. The DCCC is going to look at that and see Davidson only has 650,000 cash on hand, so they're going to be very interested in where those two end up at the end of the quarter, right? So, but
only a couple weeks.
only a couple of weeks till filing, so we'll see how they do. And everybody in Washington will be taking note. But I also have heard a couple of times that Peter Chatsky is somewhat of a dark horse here. And today I learned why. And again, I don't know. I'm only going by what I'm reading. And
outside perspective, that's what we're looking for.
He has he raised about $800,000, loaned himself $750,000, and has $800,000 cash on. I'm sorry, he has $860,000 cash on hand. It's basically what the first two have. Now, the DCCC is going to look at that and say, huh, if he can do that, how many more times can he do that? No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
And that's a calculation that needs to be made, right? First of all, the other two are seeing that and probably wondering, okay, how many times is he going to do that? Because that's scary, right? For somebody to, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
But that's the sign of a healthy campaign that's not going away, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, that's something that you need to observe. Sullivan, it looks like, raised $400,000, spent $300,000, 86,000 cash on hand. Mike Sachs, who I also know, when I was a TV producer, he was a Supreme Court reporter, and there was a lot of Supreme Court cases, gay marriage, Obamacare, all kinds of crazy stuff going on back then. So Mike was a guest sometimes we would have on Hardball.
Yeah.
And very smart, very talented guy.
Passionate speaker.
I was excited to see, it's exciting to see people who you knew in previous life and see them taking a chance. I'm seeing a lot of my former colleagues from Capitol Hill and the Biden White House running for Congress. And it's just like, wow, that takes guts. It's gutsy. But, Mike needs to, Mike's going to have to reach out to that law community he must know so well.
Yeah.
So he raised $250,000 all himself, no loans, which is good. It has 32 on hand. Philip Staley.
Yep. Effie Philip Staley.
She raised $240,000. Gave herself a $100,000 loan though, and only has $45,000 cash on hand. So that is not the sign. I mean, she will be somebody who needs to calculate for her own personal choices about whether she's going to continue on. And then Capello, who's got in a couple of months ago, I think last quarter, right?
Yes.
Oh,
he just got in, and we'll see what happens by the end of December.
So, look, you have it's going to be a competitive race. That said, money isn't what it used to be because
you just said it was everything.
it is everything. It is everything until it's not, right? It's everything until somebody has some kind of viral moment. But what happens with the viral moment? They get flooded with money that allows them to show that viral moment constantly and to sort of get that message out. So I don't want to say this race is between 3 or 4 people because I still think there's time. But again, this is an expensive race, and the goal will be to who can talk to the most people at once. And that means getting your TV reservations in early so that money goes a little bit longer, because the longer you wait till June, the more expensive the space will be.
Yeah. So if you were betting today, and maybe if you're willing, come back in 4 months, but if you were betting today, who would be your bet on the person to walk away with the nomination?
Based on what's out there, from what I can tell from the filings, from what I can tell because I went through some of the disbursements to see how they're spending their money, what consultants they're using, and where that money's going. And then also just talking to people in DC and several other members of Congress this week.
Yeah.
I'd probably put my money on Kate Conley at the moment,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
she's not somebody who's gonna like. I don't think she believes that she has this in the bag, and she's right. She shouldn't think that,
Yeah.
again, because there's so many unknowns
Mm-hmm.
about what Chatsky's gonna do.
And Beth's work in the district every day and still has a
Yeah,
tremendous reserve.
exactly. And if
Mm-hmm.
like what I don't know, because I'm not
Mm-hmm.
on the ground,
Yeah.
is, like, what kind of local pockets of local support there are for some
Mm-hmm.
of these folks, or like
Mm-hmm.
what communities in Putnam or Rochester or Rockland, have relationships with some of these candidates, or
Mm-hmm.
pre-existing relationships where there's trust and goodwill already.
Yeah.
Like, I can't measure that.
Yeah.
So I want to be fair,
Yeah.
and also say that I can, provide analysis based on what I see.
Yeah.
And that's basically it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't live in the community, so
Yeah.
anecdotal evidence is also
Mm-hmm.
incredibly important.
Yeah.
Trust and relationships are important. So if
Yeah.
people are out there working the streets, that's something that you need to consider as quantifiable.
And before I ask, like, if between for your prediction between Mr. Lawler and whoever the candidate is, if you were going to kind of give it a 1 to 100, how it would break out. One kind of final question here. What are the types of spring surprises that you've seen before, that you mentioned, like viral moments, that things that can really shake up a race? Is there anything else that you've heard or would be looking for as something that can change the trajectory or shake up the race?
The biggest, so two things. First of all, going back to 20 years ago, one of the, something to always keep in mind is that in elections like this, in midterm elections, where it's about, it's a choice between two people and who fits their district the best, right? That's going to be sort of the case. But events in the world, events in the country shape voter behavior and voter motivation. So, in 2005, we were at this point reeling from what happened in Katrina and the Iraq War. And then over the course of the next couple months, there were a lot of there was like a pattern and a flood of like Republican members getting caught up in corruption scandals. Like there was about maybe 15 over the course of that.
I remember that.
Of that year, and it became sort of this domino effect, and events that cycle plus recruitment, meaning candidates who the DCCC went out and recruited and said, you would be a good fit for this district. You should run. We will invest in you, even though we've never played here before. That kind of thing all came together with the national mood of the country because of events, right?
Yeah.
Everything. But like, in order for you to take advantage of the events that shape voters' decisions, you have to do you have to have the recruitment. You have to have the candidate. The candidates still matter, right?
Yep.
Candidate quality is everything, because you might hate everything about Donald Trump. You might hate him. You might even mostly decide you're a one-issue voter and doesn't matter. Typically, if there's an R, you're voting for the D. But if there's a candidate who makes it through the primary, and you have a large field, and you can win the primary with about probably 36%, maybe 40%, depending on how many people are in,
Mm-hmm.
you could end up with a candidate like the one we just saw in Tennessee,
Yeah.
who would be a horrible fit
Mm-hmm.
for your district, who
Mm-hmm.
would not be representative
Mm-hmm.
of the people that live there, the voters, and people who voted for Mondaire Jones and Sean might say, hell, like I'm not going with this crazy
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
crazy Mandami, left winger. I'm
Yeah.
going to go with the guy who's, made it his mission to save me
Mm-hmm.
up to $40,000 each year for the next 5 years. Like,
So,
that's a pretty easy call.
yeah.
So that's why in 2006, everything came together. The events shaped the overall mood of the country, and Rahm had done the work. The DCCC did the work to find the best candidates and play in areas they didn't play before because they knew they had candidates who could compete against, Republicans who represent their district well, like Mike Lawler's of the
Yeah.
world.
So your expert opinion from everything that you know and your perspective and experiences you shared, if you were going to give odds right now to Mr. Lawler to win next year, what would those odds be?
Oh, I think he's the favorite. He's
Mm-hmm.
he will likely win that seat as of now.
Mm-hmm.
As of
But a
now,
lot can happen.
a lot can happen. Look, he's raising money like he knows that,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a very sophisticated team around him.
Mm-hmm.
They're very aware. Um, he's not a novice to politics. He knows what waves are like.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't know if one exists at the moment. And keep in mind that um, there's a lot of dissatisfaction with
Mm-hmm.
the current president, but that doesn't always mean that people are okay with the alternative.
Mm-hmm.
Democrats also have a lot of problems, have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of image problems, a lot of perception problems when it comes to culture, crime, spending, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things that are problematic as well, and will be easy for Lawler to spend money on and weaponize against whoever he runs against,
Mm-hmm.
because he will tie them to the national party. But look for those candidates who you
Yeah.
think can be very big differentiators. And I think one of the reasons why I encourage everybody to go back and watch Kate Connolly's opening ad. And I would say that if she does have the money, if she gets the resources, if she becomes the nominee, the money will come flooding in because she is a quality candidate, and the investment will be there for a candidate like Kate. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I know based on my 20 years in
Mm-hmm.
Washington. The money will flood in and it will be there. And if you are out of the gate with an ad like that, then Lawler needs to take her very, very seriously. Now, I imagine it cuts both ways, right? So they are banking all this money while the Democrats are spending all the money trying to define themselves.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to start spending some money trying to define them. He's going to have a lot more money to do that, and a faster start to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And look, campaigns that have money
Mm-hmm.
also spend money on opposition research.
Yep.
So I can only imagine that the Lawler team has a file on every one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you pay research firms,
Yep.
and that's why money is so important.
Yep.
Stuff like that.
So, last question, one piece of advice for Democrats who are tuning in tonight, looking to kind of pick a nominee that wins back the seat. What should they be thinking about? What should they be looking at? What questions should they be asking that nominee? And then I'll let you go because I know it's getting late.
No, I mean, think about the reasons why Lawler has been successful in a D+6, now D+3 district. He represents his district well, which means he has goodwill, he has trust, and he communicates often and openly with everyone. He doesn't duck questions. He runs towards the fire. Think about candidates that are going to be upfront with you and candid with you and want to talk to you through the media, want to communicate with you and tell you where they stand. Lawler does that. And then the second part is who is going to have the guts to buck their party when I need them to. You know, when I'm trying to an example, you know, if there's a Democrat, are they just going to wear the team jersey the whole time, or are they going to do what's best for New York 17? Now, Lawler has, you know, proof points to say, I almost took down Donald Trump's entire legislative agenda just because your taxes were going to stay higher. And I'm giving you a break for 5 years. And, you know, like that's a big deal. So who can you know, translate that kind of, or who do you see as a candidate who's going to have guts to be independent when they get there, not just be a tool of the party? And so guts and trust, communication, things like that. That's what I would look for. But do your research and consume everything that the candidates say and ask them questions. You know, this is where you get to lift the hood up and kick the tires.
Well, Michael, over 20 years of experience working from the ground up, and your perspective is invaluable. I so appreciate you coming on a Thursday night and staying late with us to share that perspective with so many across the district. I know I'll get, and you'll get messages after this. But thank you for all that you do, and for coming on and sharing your thoughts.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for being interested in anything I have to say at all. So I appreciate it.
Talk to you soon, Michael. So, Michael LaRosa, I'm so glad he was able to join us and gave me a lot to think about. Some things that I wasn't expecting, but and some things I hope that you weren't expecting as well. And that's the point, to make sure that we're continuously challenged with fresh and informed perspectives to get us thinking not only about what's at stake in the next election, but what we have to do if we actually want to change the person in power. It's an uphill climb, and I think everyone on this stream knows. I firmly believe that our congressman is very talented at what he does. So if you want to change the seat, got to work for it. This guy is going to bed. Thank you all for tuning in once again. I look forward to seeing you. Stay tuned. There's certainly more to come. Talk soon.